Hi, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Madhulika Rajahan, mother, author, green energy enthusiast, and a certified Lean Six Sigma black belt expert. Through these videos, I would like to take you all to a journey of understanding the concept of lean, famously known as Toyota Production System, fathered by Taiichi Ono, a man who dedicated his life to the concept. Today, we will talk about A3, which we mentioned in our last video while discussing lean leadership and also during Hoshin Kanri videos. The question which arises is, what is A3 and why should we use the process? The A3 process prescribes to the frame quote by Abraham Lincoln, saying, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first four sharpening the axe." The A3 process helps an organization sharpen its proverbial axes by fostering effective collaboration, bringing out the best problem solving in teams. Collaboration between talented people is critical for innovation and speed. Using the AC processes to foster collaboration can help organizations and teams invest their time, money, and momentum most effectively. Now let's answer, what does A3 stand for and what are the steps involved in the same? The three A's in A3 stand for align, ask, and adjust. Now what does align mean? So in A3 is defined by three A's and we align on the way forward, right? We think together, decide where we need to go, what we need to do. It's just a structure to think together to align. The second step, A stands for ask. In that process, we want to ask good questions. That's what the scientist also does. That's what a curious human being does. We don't force solutions. We say, what is going on here? We want to avoid before jumping to conclusions and also avoid analysis paralysis of a situation. Thus, we use this A3 to help us do that. And then, like coming to our last A, is adjust. And we adjust it to what goes wrong and to what goes right. So we do on the quick PDCA analysis, which several of you called out in your breakouts, and most formal after action review what I think is a quick real step back and see what we have seen. So these are the three A's we have of the A3 process. Now we come to the steps of the A3 process. Basically, there are 10, if not 9 steps to the A3 process, starting from the very first identification of the problem. Since the purpose of A3 is to solve problems or address needs, the first, somewhat unwritten step is that you need to identify a problem or the need. Then, perhaps the first one which we'll define is capture the current state of the situation. Once you line around the problem or the need you like to address, then it's time to capture and analyze the current state of the situation. Toyota suggests that problem solvers should adopt the following steps. The first of them being observe the work processes firsthand and document your observation. Gather around a whiteboard and walk through each step of the process. You can use a fancy chart tool, but stick figures and arrows will also do the job as well. If possible, quantify the size of the problem. For example, percentage of tickets with long cycle times, number of customers, deliveries that were late, number of errors reported per quarter. Graph that data if possible, because visualization is really, really helpful here. Now, coming to the third step, we conduct a root cause analysis. Now that you see your process, try to figure out the root cause of the efficiencies. You like to question, where do we suffer the communication breakdowns? Where do we see long delays without activities? What informations we need to collaborate more effectively and smoothly? Now document these pain points and then dig deeper. The 5 whys is a helpful tool for conducting a thorough root cause analysis. The basic idea is that you begin with a problem statement and then you ask whys deep enough until you discover the real reason for the problem. You may or may not have to ask why exactly 5 times, but it's just simply an estimate to do so. Coming on to our next step, which is devise countermeasures to address those root causes. Now, countermeasures are your ideas of tackling the situation, the changes to be made in your process that will move the organization closer to the ideal by addressing those root causes you found out. Countermeasures should aim to specify the intended outcome and plan for achieving it, create clear, direct connection between people responsible for steps in the process. And thirdly, reduce or eliminate loops or workarounds and delays, something which we have learned long before in our 8 ways. Define your target is the next step. Once you've selected your countermeasures and you're able to clearly define your target state, in the A3 process, you communicate your target state through a process map. Be sure to note where the changes in the process are occurring so that they can be observed. Going down to the sixth one, we have develop a plan for implementation. Now that they defined your target state, you have developed a plan for how to achieve it, implementation, which is perhaps the most important step, should be included. A task list to get the countermeasures in place, who is responsible for what, due dates for any time sensitive work items. Most teams choose to document their implementation plan in their A3s. Coming down to our next step, which is the seventh step, we have develop a follow-up plan with predicted outcomes. A follow-up plan allows lean teams to check their work. It allows them to verify whether they actually understood the current conditions well enough to improve it. A follow-up plan is a critical step in process improvement because it can help teams make sure that the implementation plan was executed, target conditions were realized, and expected results were achieved. Now, these 7 steps, which are captured in the A3 report, most teams use this template for A3. Now, once we are done with the implementation phase, there are certain unsaid steps which we need to be taking up, which we can also call as the next steps. The eighth one, getting everyone on board. The goal of this systematic improvement is that improves every part of the system. This is why it is vital to include everyone who might be affected by implementation or the target state in the conversation before the changes are made. Building consensus throughout the process is usually the most effective approach, which is why many teams choose to include this at each critical turning point in A3 processes. Depending on the scope of work, it might also be important to inform executives and other stakeholders who might be impacted by the work. And last but not the least, now it's time for implementation. Follow the implementation as discussed, observing the opportunities for improvements along the way. And last, finally, of course, evaluating the results. In far too many situations, the A3 process ends with implementations. It's critical, however, to measure the actual results and compare them to your predictions in order to learn. If your actual results vary greatly from what is expected, do your research to figure out the whys. Alter the process wherever necessary and repeat the implementation follow up until the goal is met. So, why using the A3 process throughout the organization? Like Toyota, lean organizations often use this process to manage work at the project, program, and even at the portfolio levels. In order to do it effectively, the entire organization should be trained in this process. This is to allow for a consistent, sustainable practice of A3 planning and thinking, encouraging most effective collaboration across the organization. So that was A3 for you. I hope you are able to understand the basic concept. With this, we come to an end to this edition. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment on the comment section in what you'd like to hear more. Until next time, this is your host, Madhulika Rajahan, signing off. Have a wonderful day ahead.